If you cry easily, the research suggests you may have something a lot of people spend their whole lives trying to build. Tearing up during a movie, getting emotional mid-argument, feeling something hit you that didn't seem to touch anyone else in the room. Maybe you've asked yourself, why am I like this? Why can't I just toughen up? Here's what the actual science says. Crying easily isn't a malfunction. There's real research behind why it happens, and what it tends to say about the person doing it. Let's get into it.
Humans are designed to cry. Stop crying. Be strong. Don't be so emotional. Most of us heard some version of this growing up. Here's the fact that undercuts it. Humans are the only species known to shed emotional tears. Not tears from dust or injury, but tears produced purely by feeling. Biochemist William Frey spent much of the 1980s studying this directly and found something specific. Emotional tears are chemically different from reflex tears triggered by, say, cutting an onion. Frey's research identified higher concentrations of stress-related compounds, including ACTH, a hormone linked to the body's stress response, in emotional tears than in
irritant tears. That's not incidental. It's evidence of a built-in release mechanism. Crying isn't a system failing under pressure. By Frey's data, it looks more like a system doing exactly what it was built to do. You may process emotions more deeply. Neuroscientist Richard Davidson has spent decades researching what he calls affective style, measurable individual differences in how intensely and how quickly people's brains respond to emotional information. His research, using brain imaging, found real variation in emotional reactivity from person to person, not a character trait, a biological one. Some people's neural circuitry registers emotional input with more intensity and holds on to it longer. That means the same scene, the same conversation, the same subtle shift in someone's tone can register as louder in one brain than another. Not more fragile, more attuned. 2. You may have higher levels of empathy. Psychologists Elaine Hatfield, John Cacioppo, and Richard Rapson researched a phenomenon they named emotional contagion. The tendency to automatically and unconsciously mirror the emotional state of people around you, sometimes down to matching their facial expressions and body language in real time. Their research found this isn't a decision, it's closer to automatic. For people with a strong emotional contagion response, someone else's pain doesn't stay theirs. It gets picked up and processed as if it were partly your own, which is often exactly the moment eyes start to water before the conscious mind has caught up. That mirroring response is also one of the documented building blocks of empathy itself, according to their work, not a side effect of it. 3. Your nervous system may be more responsive. This connects back to Frey's research on tear chemistry. His central hypothesis, since studied further by other researchers, was that crying serves a literal excretory function, helping the body clear stress-related hormones through tears rather than holding on to them internally. If that hypothesis holds, a nervous system that reaches for tears faster isn't malfunctioning under pressure. It's using a release valve other nervous systems reach for more slowly or not at all. Not a breakdown. By this research, closer to a reset. What most people get wrong about crying? The common assumption is that strong emotional expression signals weakness. The research consistently points the other way. Healthy emotional expression has been linked to stronger relational connection, more accurate emotional processing, and better long-term stress regulation. The pattern researchers keep finding is straightforward. Emotions that get expressed tend to get processed. Emotions that get suppressed tend to get stored. And stored emotion has a well-documented tendency to resurface elsewhere, often as physical tension or unrelated irritability. Feeling the emotion was rarely the problem. Avoiding it usually was. Why emotional intelligence matters. In 1990, psychologists Peter Salovey and John Mayer introduced the academic framework for emotional intelligence, the capacity to recognize, understand, and manage emotion, both your own and other people's. The concept was later popularized by psychologist Daniel Goleman, whose research connected it directly to leadership effectiveness and relationship quality. People who cry easily have usually already cleared the hardest part of that framework without trying: fast, accurate emotional recognition. The remaining piece, channeling that recognition into steady decisions and clear communication, is a skill, not a personality trait, which means it's buildable. Sensitivity paired with that kind of regulation isn't a contradiction. According to Salovey and Mayer's model, it's closer to the whole point. One important reality, worth saying clearly: not every tear is purely emotional. Stress, exhaustion, hormonal shifts, overstimulation, and even dehydration can all lower the threshold for crying, independent of what's actually being felt. So if tears come more easily than they seem to for other people, that's not automatically a sign that something's wrong. Nervous systems vary. That's simply what being human involves. Final thoughts. If the question you've been asking is, why can't I be tougher? The research suggests a different question might fit better. What if depth was never something to toughen away? Crying easily doesn't mean broken, weak, or incapable of handling difficulty. Across the research, Frey's tear chemistry, Davidson's affective style, Hatfield's emotional contagion, Salovey and Mayer's emotional intelligence framework, it tends to point toward the opposite: an emotional system that's highly online, picking up signals other systems miss. In a world where plenty of people are disconnected from what they actually feel, that's not a flaw to manage. It's a capacity worth understanding. If this changed how you see yourself, let me know in the comments. Do you cry easily, and has it ever made you question that about yourself? If you're into the psychology behind emotion, sensitivity, and the hidden strengths most people overlook, subscribe. Because here, we don't just describe behavior. We trace it back to the research.